Warning: this episode contains discussions of sexual abuse, emotional trauma, and related sensitive topics. Viewer discretion is advised. Let's talk about the things that we carry from childhood, the things that we weren't ready for, didn't have the language for, the things that shaped us way before we knew who we were becoming. Let's talk about the parts of ourselves that we don't usually bring to the surface, but that deserve to be seen. I want to tell a story that I've never really told in full, a story that's shaped so many of my insecurities, my relationships, my connection to my body, and the way that I've seen myself for so many years. So, when I was younger, my mom ran a child care center out of our home. And when I was around 10 years old, my mom decided she wanted to do foster care. Keep in mind, my mom's always been this incredibly loving and giving, kind person. So, of course, she'd want to do foster care. Of course, she'd want to do more because she's just that kind of person, you know? So, one of the foster kids that lived with us, his name was Henry, and I really liked him. I mean, I was a kid, but I really liked him. I enjoyed his company, and I was very drawn to him. Like, I thought he was cool, and I wanted to be close to him. And keep in mind too, at this time, I knew that I was gay. I've always known that I was gay. I just didn't have the language or understanding for it. I always knew I was different. But that's neither here nor there. So Henry's here and we're getting close. We spend so much time together. We're talking, we're hanging out in each other's rooms. We used to play therapist, where he talked to me about why he was sad and I'd listen. And even then, I had this weird, like, emotional intuition. Like, I had the ability to really connect deeply. Even as a child, I cared about him so deeply, and I cared too much to understand what was coming next, you know? And at some point, things between Henry and I started to really shift. I'll be very honest with you. Henry started to sexually abuse me. Henry got a little too intimate with me and too close. More context too is that Henry was about, if I remember correctly, I want to say he was somewhere between 12 and 14 years old. I was 10, and he used to take advantage of me. I will never forget the moment him and I had our first kiss. I was sitting on my knees at the foot of his bed. I was taking care of him because he was sick. He was sick with something like a stomach flu or something was happening. He was laying in bed and he's laying there. He looks up at me and we're talking, and he gets up and he kisses me on the lips. And the immediate butterflies I felt, this this wasn't normal. I didn't know what any of that meant. All I knew was that I liked talking to him and I liked being around him and I liked him at the time. Where the sexual abuse really came into play was he would tell me to go into the closet and then he would do things to me. One moment that really sticks out to me so vividly, I remember it with so much clarity. It's crystal clear in my mind. I'm laying on the floor and he asks me to spread my legs open. He looks at me and he starts laughing at me, like pointing at me, laughing at me. That moment is forever ingrained in my mind because it didn't happen just once, it happened twice. He laughed at me like loud. It was fucking cruel. Like I was something ridiculous. Like my body was a fucking punchline. And hearing him laugh like that, seeing him physically laugh at me, I feel it's carved something deep inside me. Like this wound of humiliation, rejection, of not being enough in the most vulnerable moment imaginable. It's a moment that still fucking hits so hard because the because that laugh it wasn't even about sex. It was about it just me. He's laughing at my body. and I didn't understand any of it back then. And to really understand why this this has wounded me so fucking deeply. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure that would traumatize any of you, but, like, to understand, like, really, I wanna give you more context to who I was as a child. As a kid, I was very chubby. I was awkward. I was the awkward kid. I also grew up with severe asthma. I was in and out of the hospital. I've missed so many holidays, birthdays. I was on so many medications and steroids. I was also sheltered because my mom was terrified of losing me. I was the kid with no real friends. I was the kid who knew that he was different. I was the kid who drew because it was the only thing people seemed to like about me. I was lonely. I was emotionally sensitive and probably had ADHD back then too. I mean, I was constantly in my head thinking thoughts that no 10-year-old should think. And when you take a child like that, a child who's already feeling so unwanted, unseen, broken, and then you give him attention, intimacy, and connection, which is what Henry he ultimately gave me. It becomes confusing, it becomes overwhelming. It sets the foundation for a future of insecurities because suddenly, in my child brain, closeness became mixed with secrecy. Affection became mixed with shame. Being wanted became mixed with giving my body up. And love became something that had to be earned through vulnerability that I wasn't ready for. So that happened. I didn't I didn't tell my mom about what happened until I was around like 21 or 22. And well, of course she was devastated. Dude, of course she was devastated. She blamed herself for the longest time, but I've always assured her that it wasn't her fault. She was working, she was running a daycare center. She didn't know, she couldn't have known. And, what really broke my heart was learning, like, why Henry was in foster care to begin with. And the thing was is back when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to know those things. My mom knew those things. I wasn't allowed to know. But he was in foster care because he had been abused too. And suddenly I had more context. I had the whole picture. And, like, not in the way that excuses what happened or that justifies it, but it just makes it sad. It makes it so much sadder than it needs to be. He was sexually abused by his father too, and him being a child, obviously carried the cycle, and it's sad, it's devastating. As of now, I don't hate him, and I don't hold a grudge against him. There's just a lot of sadness. There's sadness for him, for me, and the kids that we were. When when I got older and I became a teenager and started actually dating guys or talking to guys, I had this really twisted core belief. I had these twisted ideas of what a relationship should be. Like, in order for someone to like me, I had to involve sex. And not because I wanted to, not because I was ready for it, but because I learned early on that intimacy and sex were tangled, that being chosen required giving something, that my body was the cost of affection, you know? And it wasn't until my early 20s when with therapy and like in hindsight and growth that I realized that sex and connection are just they're not the same. It's not the same thing at all. I didn't know that as a kid. And I didn't know that as a teenager. And I had to learn it the hard way. Now I'm 33. I'm in therapy. I'm diagnosed with ADHD. I'm learning to rewire my brain to be kinder to myself. I see so much nuance. I tend to give so much grace to others and slowly to myself. But there's still a part of me, that chubby, awkward, emotional little boy who just wants to be loved, to feel chosen and to be included, to matter. And some days, especially now that the holidays are around the corner, that part of me just gets so goddamn loud. I get nostalgic. I miss the simplicity of going into my bedroom, blasting Avril Lavigne, and not worrying about rent, bills, or work, or just responsibility, being an adult. Some days I feel left out. Some days I feel like I'm still that child. Some days I want to exist without having to fight so hard. But here's the part of me that I think matters. While all of this it's me, it's not the whole me. It's not everything about me. These experiences shaped me, but they don't define me. Dude, I don't wanna suck my own dick, but I think I'm really great. I think I'm funny, I think I'm so creative. I like to think I'm pretty kind. I also feel like I'm very emotionally intuitive. I'm very artistic. I feel like I'm still an evolving person with so much more to offer and so much more to learn. And I know that I'm not just a product of trauma, but I am the result of that healing trauma. I am not perfect. I am not Jasmine. I am Aladdin. No, it's funny that I'm trying really hard to end this with like, "Oh, no, like, I'm not my trauma. I am not, I am, you know, that." But I know that I'm not the product of my trauma, but at the same time, I kind of am. But it's like, goddamn, I'm just trying to make it through the day. This is where so many of my insecurities come from. This is why I love so deeply. This is why I fear being left out, why I crave being chosen. And this is why I'm learning every day to separate who I was from who I'm becoming. And if you're listening to this and any part of it resonates with you, remember that you aren't alone. Like, it's true. Your childhood, it does shape you. It really does, but it doesn't get the final say. You do. My name is Eric Ornelas. I'm 33 years old. I have ADHD. I was sexually abused when I was 10 years old. I'm awkward. I'm cringy. I have a huge heart. I am obsessed with Avril Lavigne. I'm trying really hard every day to be the best version of myself possible. And I want to be here. I want to be better. I want to be able to talk about the uncomfortable things, the hard things, and get perspective when I do have it. I think I'm insecure and I'm very flawed, but I think that's kind of the beauty of humanity and just being a person in general. The wanting and desire to be better and to be different and to grow is all I can really do and ask for. Thank you guys so much for listening to this, and I'm sorry if it's triggered you. Love you guys. I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Please See Above podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Eric Appleseed. I'm Eric Ornelas, the creator, executive producer, and host of Please See Above. This podcast is recorded in Glendora, California. Music is by Juan Avitia. Be sure to check out new episodes every Wednesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.